Hello, everyone. I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day wherever you are. The Save Us podcast and Planterra team are extremely excited to present our first episode today. If you missed our introduction, this podcast is all about combining environmental awareness and business. We plan to explore climate news and environmentally friendly businesses through weekly episodes. Today's episode is around a topic that has definitely been gaining popularity in the news. You may have heard about this thing called Bitcoin. If you haven't, Bitcoin is the world's largest cryptocurrency, which are digital currencies that store each transaction on the blockchain. The blockchain is a digital ledger that records each of these transactions in blocks. It's just a chain of blocks called the blockchain on which Bitcoin transacts. Simple enough, right? Not really. It obviously gets way more complex than that, but this isn't a crypto podcast, even though that would be fun. We're going to be talking about the negative environmental impacts from the huge increase in mining recently. So what's mining? I'm not talking about digging for diamonds. I'm talking about mining cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Mining is the process by which new Bitcoins are entered into circulation, as well as a very important maintenance and development component of the blockchain ledger itself. Mining requires very sophisticated computers to solve very complex math equations. Now, mining itself is a pretty grueling and costly process, and only sporadically rewarding. But of course, there is mass appeal given miners are rewarded with crypto tokens. Mining Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is essentially the modern version of mining for gold during the California gold rush. So all this sounds great. We love crypto, we love making money. What the heck is the problem here? That's a valid question. Remember how I said we need complex computers processing even more complex algorithms? These computers don't run on magic. Electricity is obviously an essential component of this whole process, and the electricity has to come from somewhere. Ready for a crazy stat? Mining in China alone is expected to peak in 2024, releasing as much CO2 into the atmosphere as all of Italy. That's an entire country. Bitcoin's annual energy consumption globally is comparable to countries like Argentina and Ukraine, producing 39.65 megatons of CO2 annually. In 30 years, it's estimated Bitcoin alone could increase global temperature by 2 degrees Celsius, and that's not even accounting for all other cryptocurrencies. So I'm sure we can all agree that that sounds absolutely horrifying and something that must be prevented at all costs. Well, if you're like me, you probably think you're pretty smart right now and have already come up with the perfect solution. Hey miners, just use renewable energy sources, right? Kinda. 72% of Bitcoin mining is concentrated in China, but in China, nearly 2/3 of all electricity is generated by coal power. Now there is such thing as green mining. Iceland was a pioneer in this, but unfortunately their global production of Bitcoin dropped to 2% from 8% 4 years ago. Iceland has vast hydro energy resources and is therefore known as Europe's green battery. But Bitcoin mining needs a lot more renewable energy to keep up with demand, and nobody's building a separate power plant just for Bitcoin, according to the CEO of Iceland's national utility. So limited power and an almost infinitely increasing energy demand from mining. What's the solution? Do we stop mining altogether? That seems kind of unrealistic, but here are some actual solutions, and we'll leave it up to our viewers which one is most realistic while providing the best outcomes. Firstly, altering Bitcoin's consensus algorithm. The proof of authority algorithm is a good alternative to proof of work, which is what Bitcoin currently uses, and that's because it leverages people's identity and is therefore much less energy intensive. There's also proof of stake, which is a more well-known algorithm that locks tokens and lets users verify blocks. The more tokens a user locks, the more chances they have to validate the block. Alternate coins such as PIVX already use proof of stake, and Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin is incorporating it into ETH blockchain, given the significant reductions it will provide to the coin's carbon footprint. Another solution is geographically concentrating Bitcoin production in areas with renewable energy surpluses, such as Texas for solar or Iceland for geothermal and hydroelectric. But we already talked about how that surplus is fast depleting given the rising demand. The Nordic power surplus, excluding Iceland, is expected to shrink by 90% from 2023 to the end of the decade. So this is definitely a more short-term solution. Countries like China could also adopt more renewable energy use, but that's probably not something we can rely on in the near term. Categorical bans from regulators is another great solution, as other industries with similar emissions are seeing government regulations mandating decarbonization. Quebec, for example, has enacted a moratorium on new currency mining, which may be replicated in other regions if nothing else is done to curb emissions. Finally, miners themselves globally transitioning to lower cost renewable energy sources wherever possible on their own to increase profitability for themselves could actually benefit the planet long term, given the huge demand influx to renewable energy sources would amass a huge investment shift towards that space. So obviously, this isn't a comprehensive list of solutions, nor are the presented solutions perfect in any way. But let's get this straight. Bitcoin's carbon emissions are to be taken very, very seriously, and literally anything reducing those emissions are considered productive at this point. So that concludes our first episode. Really hope you all enjoyed it and found it interesting. I learned a lot and I had a lot of fun researching this topic and can't wait to cover more every week for all of you. So feel free to contact us with feedback and questions. We'd love to hear from you, or even just to say hi. You can find us at our Instagram, plantera.store, or our email, plantera.store@gmail.com. Have a great week, everyone, and do what you can to save the planet and save us.